Hello and welcome to week 75 of our 2-year um, Bible study. We are in the midst of Ezekiel chapter 38, which speaks about the Lord's great victory over the nations. So this is a prophecy against Gog, which is some far northern nation who invades Israel, but is stopped by earthquake and either volcanic or cosmic activity of some sort. The 10th day of the first month that is mentioned in this chapter is the day when a lamb was selected for Passover. And so this is a pre-Passover event that is prophesied here. In Ezekiel chapter 39, we have the destruction of Gog, not God. The destruction of Gog is intended to be assigned to the nations. We see that in verses 21 through 24, where the nations see the glory of God displayed because of the destruction of Gog. And this shows that God is the true God. And then in verse 29, notice it says that I will no longer hide my face from them, for I will pour out my spirit on the people of Israel, declares the sovereign Lord. Again, notice the filling of the Holy Spirit also comes at this time. And so I think that this is probably some still future prophecy prior to the turning of the people of Israel to Jesus as their Messiah. In Ezekiel chapter 40, the temple is restored. And in verse 4, it says, the man said to me, Son of man, look carefully and listen closely and pay attention to everything I'm going to show you, for that is why you have been brought here. Tell the people of Israel everything you see. And then it goes on to give an architectural and description with measurements for the vision of the temple. This temple, some have said that it's perhaps the second temple. Some have said it's perhaps a temple during the millennial reign of Jesus. Some see it as just metaphorical. Clearly, based on verse 3 or verse 4, the measurements and the vision for the temple is important. I don't know that its importance has yet been shown, and so I do think that this awaits kind of a future fulfillment. But what that fulfillment is difficult to tell from what's given here in chapter 40. Although at the time that it is fulfilled, it will be very important. Ezekiel chapter 41 gives a further description of the temple. There are palm trees that are talked about, and the palm trees typically represent prosperity. And of course, as we've seen before, the cherubs represent God's glory. And so the combination of these would be a prosperity that is in God's glory. Ezekiel chapter 42, we're into our third chapter of this temple already, that we really don't know when this temple is and how this temple is going to come about. But it's a long description of the temple. And chapter 42 is the final description of the temple. While the holy place in the center is similar in size, the rest of the temple is significantly expanded, given much grander courts, possibly for more people to gather for worship. So while the Holy of Holies and the holy place in the center of the temple is pretty much the same size as Solomon's temple, the rest of the temple is significantly larger than that. In Ezekiel chapter 43, God's glory returns to the temple. So the glory of God enters the temple. And notice that the altar is described in this chapter. This altar that's described is much larger than the altar that would have been in Solomon's temple. It has steps, which steps were forbidden in the first altar. You can take a look at Exodus chapter 20, verse 26. And that was done to maintain modesty and respect. These steps face east, and we know that the prince comes from the east, and the prince comes to the altar. And so it seems to be saying that the prince cannot make it immodest or disrespectful. And also the altar is immediately in front of the holy place, which seems to be a different structure than the way it had been in Solomon's temple. In Ezekiel chapter 44, the priesthood is restored. And in verse 2, the Lord said to Ezekiel, "This gate is to remain shut. It must not be opened. No one may enter through it. It is to remain shut because the Lord, the God of Israel, has entered through it." This idea of it being shut could, of course, mean shut in the sense of opening and closing, which is similar to what we're going to see in chapter 46, or it could be shut in the sense of blocked off until the prince comes. And again, possibly this is a fulfillment when Jesus comes again and comes through the eastern gate of the temple. But most of this chapter is taking a look at that restored priesthood, and you need a restored priesthood because you have a restored temple. And then chapter 45, Israel is fully restored through a holy district around Jerusalem. The temple is included in Passover in verses 18 through 20. So initially, Passover was done in the homes of people, and here the home is the temple. So the redemption of the temple from its enslavement to sinfulness through its past misuse is cleansed through the Passover that is done to purify it in this chapter. Chapter 46, the entrance and exit of the people and a prince or the ruler of Israel is for worship. So this idea of passing through the temple seems to suggest that people not return to where they came from after they worship, but continue on in their journey. No such exercise is needed for the prince. The prince can come and go as he pleases. So there's a distinction here between the prince and the people, but the idea of passing through the temple seems to be suggesting that you need to continue on with your journey rather than going backwards to where you came from. Chapter 47 is a description of the river that runs from the temple and refreshes the Dead Sea. But within a mile and a half becomes an unswimmable river without any indication of tributaries. And this is not the way rivers work. So you need more tributaries to add in order to make it deeper and deeper. And yet this river that starts as a trickle at the temple becomes within a mile and a half an unswimmable river. And so it's possible that this is kind of reflecting Eden in some way, because Eden, you'll remember, has 4 rivers that come out from one place. And again, this is not typically how rivers work. And so there might be some connection between this river and the rivers of Eden. The boundaries of the new Israel are described and is expanded beyond that which described when Israel entered the land. So they are being given more land by God than they had before. Ezekiel chapter 48 talks about the allotment of the land with the holy districts. Each tribe receives an equal allotment in bands that run horizontally east to west and then are described north to south. This is very different from the way that the land was allotted before. Manasseh and Ephraim are combined into Joseph to make room for Levi. And so these are the actual 12 sons of Jacob that are mentioned here, as opposed to the grandchildren, Manasseh and Ephraim, of Jacob. And the Lord is there. This is the culmination of Ezekiel's vision of the nations being conquered. The temple is restored. The priests are restored. The people are restored. The land is restored. So all has been made right when we get to the end of Ezekiel. We are going to take a quick look at Obadiah, which is just a single chapter prophecy, but Obadiah is a prophecy against Edom for aiding in Israel's downfall. But this downfall of Edom in verses 15 and 16 are a warning to the nations. The day of the Lord is near for all nations. As you have done, it will be done to you. Your deeds will return upon your own head. Just as you drank on my holy hill, so all the nations will drink continually. They will drink and be as if they had never been. And that drinking is a drinking of the judgment of God. But then, despite this warning against the nations on the way that they treat Israel, in verses 17 through 21, we have a prophecy of the restoration of Israel. And so throughout these prophets, we see that, yes, there is judgment coming for their sinfulness, but that God has this grander plan for them that includes the Messiah, includes their own restoration and return to God, who once again raises them up and gives them life.